Happy Super Bowl week. I'm Nisa Petrilli.
I'm Jay Kaplan.
I'm Anthony Strait.
I'm Steve Ferguson.
And I am Sean Roman.
And this is the On the Sports Line Super Bowl and Winter Olympics special. Tonight, we are all about the NFL's big game and the world's biggest games. We'll look at the game plans and the players in the spotlight for both the AFC champion New England Patriots and the NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles, plus our Super Bowl predictions. Then we'll tell you what Team USA athletes to watch for and give you our thoughts on Russian athletes competing and both Koreas playing nice ahead of the Winter Olympics opening on February 9th. As always, you can find us on social media, follow us on Twitter at On The Sports Lines, and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/OnTheSportsLines. We will start our Super Bowl 52 preview with the defending champs and their offense. The Patriots were second in the NFL in scoring and first in total yards. Tom Brady comes in as the NFL's number 3 rated passer, and as usual, has shown he can win with whomever lines up with him. How will they attack the Eagles' defense? Who besides Brady will the spotlight be on? Steve and Sean break it down. Steve, what's the Patriots' game plan when they have the ball?
Well, I hate to be Captain Obvious in this scenario, but I think it's definitely passing. The Eagles have the 21st best defense in the league. They are really good against the run, so Tom Brady's going to have to pass a lot to his usual suspects, Gronkowski, Amendola, Cooks. But I think one thing they could do a little differently that may open up the game is to also pass to the running backs a little more of Dion Lewis, a little bit more to Rex Burkhead, and possibly to James White. Those guys can actually cause a lot of trouble if he gets the ball to them.
So, Sean, other than Tom Brady, which Patriots offensive player is the spotlight going to be on?
I think the spotlight is finally shining bright on Danny Amendola. He, a few years ago, was signed by the Patriots to replace Wes Welker. He has done a phenomenal job, and he has flown below the radar. Contract-wise, he has taken pay cuts to remain with the Patriots for the last 3 years. And you don't realize this, but in the regular season, he is quite pedestrian. He gets about 4 catches for 40 yards a game. But come playoff time, come crunch time, there is no better player, more valuable player in the league than Danny Amendola. If you think about it, and perhaps the Eagles are focusing on this right now, he has the most third down catches of anybody on the Patriots this year. Additionally, if you look at the Patriots' remarkable comebacks, think about to the Seattle Seahawks when the Patriots were down by 10. He got them to within 3 with their touchdown. Against the Atlanta Falcons, he led the way in the comeback and got them to within 8 points and then send the game to overtime. Additionally, against the Jaguars, and I picked the Jaguars to win that game, and I think that was a solid prediction because out of all the teams that played the Patriots in this series, I think the Jaguars are ultimately going to give the Patriots the best bet. But Amendola trimmed that lead to 3 and gave them the go-ahead. Very effective out of the slot. He is going to be the key player to watch going into Super Bowl because of his success in the clutch for the New England Patriots.
It will be interesting. Okay, guys, well, let's move to the other side of the ball. The Patriots' defense tends to fly under the radar with all the attention paid to Brady's offense, but they rank number 5 in points allowed and number 4 in yards and yards per play. How will they stop Nick Foles and company? Which Patriot defender will have the spotlight on them? Steve and Sean have the analysis. Sean, what's the Patriots' game plan for stopping this creative Eagles offense?
The Patriots' game plan is nothing monumental. You know, I think of Herb Brooks as how he was portrayed in the movie Miracle. And he was pretty much play your game, play your game, play your game. What they don't want to do is give up such a huge lead like they did last year and put the pressure on them to come back. But, you know, they are weak against the run, but they know what to do in certain circumstances. The Patriots defense is adaptable. They're not a 3-4. They're not a 4-3. They could mix things up and adapt to the Eagles' personnel. So, every now and then they'll have rotating zone changes. Every now and then they will throw in a blitz. Every now and then they will double one of the great three Eagles wide receivers. You just don't know when it's coming. So that type of shuffling and adapting is what they had 2 weeks to do. And the Patriots have this amount of time to prepare. They've proven themselves to be very, very successful.
So, Steve, which Patriots defensive player will the spotlight be on?
Well, I think the player that you have to watch for is Malcolm Butler, because he's going to be covering either Nelson Aguilar or Alshon Jeffries. These are the two fastest receivers the Eagles have. Aguilar definitely drops a lot of passes, but he has as much speed as anybody. And if he gets by Malcolm Butler, that could be a touchdown easily for the Eagles. Alshon Jeffries is a little more physical, a little taller, but those are the guys that he really has to stop. And if he's unable to do it, the Eagles will have a field day.
Well, it is time to turn our attention to the NFC champs and an offense that was number 3 in the NFL in scoring and number 7 in yards. They're led by quarterback Nick Foles, who has been remarkable in these playoffs, thanks in large part to the creative game planning and play calling of head coach Doug Peterson. What do they have in store for the Patriots, and who will the spotlight be on besides Foles? Jay and Anthony break things down. Jay, what's the Eagles' game plan when they have the ball?
Straight up.
Straight up.
As many run-pass options as they can give Nick Foles to put him in position to succeed. The creative use of RPOs, which the Eagles ran more than any team in the NFL this year, and on which Nick Foles' completion percentage and passing options out of that is 93.8%, and he has a passer rating of 96.6%. So the Patriots also allow the most yards per play against run-pass options, 5.6, which is 5th worst in the NFL. So this is kind of why this is going to be the focal point of the Eagles' game plans. I mean, Foles' numbers in these 2 playoff games have been proof that the creative play calling that Nisa alluded to has been working. Almost 78% completion percentage, almost 600 yards, 3 TDs, only been sacked twice. His passer rating is over 122. Now, look, the first thing you got to do with RPOs is you got to be able to run effectively, because if you don't, Foles is going to be in trouble. So they need Jay Ajayi, they need LeGarrette Blount to kind of keep the run going against the Patriots' 31st ranked rush defense. This will set up the pass that Foles has been doing so well out of the RPOs. It's also going to give them time of possession. Keeping Brady off the field is key, as you well know. 33 minutes per game in the postseason. They got to keep doing that. What's going to be interesting to me to see, Anthony, is whether or not part of Peterson's game plan is having Foles throw more on first down to kind of get Patriots in to back off and run D, give him some easy completions against slant route screens, quick looks that he has good. To kind of incorporate things the Jags actually did well against them. Here's the deal. Maintain your run game. Give Foles a clean pocket. His passer rating is 106 when it is, 34 when it's not. Execute the RPOs the way they've been doing so far. To me, that's an offensive game plan that can actually get the Eagles a Super Bowl victory.
So, Anthony, other than Nick Foles, which Eagles offensive player will the spotlight be on?
I'm looking at tight end Zach Ertz.
Yep.
And here's going to be key. He had 824 yards receiving over the regular season, 74 receptions against the Minnesota Vikings' #1 ranked defense.
Yeah, right there.
93 yards on 8 catches, 4 of them for 44 yards on 3rd down, which was very important to keep those drives alive. And going up against the #30th ranked pass defense that just got lit up by Blake Bortles of all
people.
Of all people. But when you look at Zach Ertz, combination of speed, 6'5", 250, and the Patriots linebacking core does not have a lot of speed.
No.
Then you look at the safeties. You have McCourty and you have
Patrick Chung.
Patrick Chung as well. When he can get those one-on-one battles, and he is such a reliable receiver. 29% of Nick Foles' completions went towards Zach Ertz in his 5 regular season starts. He's such a great security blanket. I think if they get him involved early and often, that's going to really cause Bill Belichick and the defense to kind of shift it on to focus more on Ertz. That should open up some one-on-ones on the outside with Alshon Jeffrey, especially in the deep ball. So I think it's focusing on Ertz early on should really help the Philadelphia Eagles offense.
Completely agree.
On the other side of the ball for the Eagles is the NFL's #4 scoring defense, which also ranks #1 against the run. Their 19 interceptions were 3rd most, and their 3rd down conversion percentage allowed was 3rd best. How will they come at the Patriots? Who is the defender in the spotlight? Anthony and Jay have this as well. Anthony, what's the Eagles' game plan for stopping Brady and the Patriots offense?
It's the one game plan that everyone does when they have New England. You have to get the Tom Brady.
Yeah.
His quick release won't allow you to get the sacks, but just getting his face and making him uncomfortable is the key to go. We've seen it before with Giants and the Broncos and the Ravens. Teams that can rush him without having to send extra guys.
Right.
Look at the cast of characters that the Eagles could throw at him. Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, Derek Bernard, Chris Long on the other hand.
Yeah.
Then they can rotate them inside with Tim Jerick and Vinny Curry. What they like to do sometimes is they like to play a wide 9 defense,
Yes.
and they do mix it up front.
Yes.
But what's going to be key is the fact that they can use basically a 10-man rotation. Think an NBA lineup.
Yeah,
where you have a starter and a bench. And just
Full-on
rotate
depth.
guys and keep guys fresh, which is very key for Tom Brady, a guy who has a 103 passer rating and a 66% completion percentage. And look at this, 20-plus pressures for 7 players for the Philadelphia Eagles. That's the most in the NFL. So they can't get pressure without sending guys in the secondary. And if you're able to do that, that'll allow the secondary to sit back, play more coverage. Tom Brady will pick you apart if you're sending extra guys, and he picks up on it right away. I mean, he's been in the league 15, 16 years.
Nothing he hasn't
He's
seen.
everything. So what you have to do is you have to mix it up. You have to keep him guessing, but more important, you have to get him uncomfortable, get him moving in the pocket. The Jaguars for 3 quarters
were able to do that.
And the Philadelphia Eagles have better pass rushers
And more depth.
and way more depth, so they can keep guys fresh. But what's going to be very important is that they keep the New England Patriots from the long drives,
Yes.
and because that will wear them down later on in the game. We saw with
Absolutely.
Jacksonville. Philadelphia has to avoid that and be able to just make Tom Brady a very uncomfortable quarterback for 4 quarters.
Yeah, I agree. And they have the front 4 that can do it. 33 of their sacks came from that front 4. So, I mean,
Which defensive player is the spotlight going to be on?
Well,
Jay?
Anthony perfectly covered what the game plan has to be against Brady and the Patriots, but the defensive player I think that's going to be in the spotlight for them is the guy who serves as the Swiss Army knife for Jim Schwartz's unit, and that's Pro Bowl safety Malcolm Jenkins. Now, he can be utilized as a box safety to help stuff the run. He can be walked up from the secondary to be a blitzer off the edge, or, when Schwartz decides to get creative with his blitz packages, he can be used in coverage on running backs, wide receivers, and especially on tight end Rob Gronkowski. Now, the matchup with Gronk is not going to be pure one-on-one because the Eagles are more zone than man-to-man, especially in the middle of the field. They will put their corners on an island, but in the middle of the field, they tend to play more zone. But you got to figure that wherever Gronk is in the middle of the field, Jenkins is going to be in the area somehow most of the time. Whichever way that Schwartz decides to utilize Malcolm Jenkins, he's a playmaker and he's going to have to make plays. You talk about the turnovers that they forced, 31 on the season. That's being opportunistic. Jenkins has to be one of those opportunistic playmakers and make plays if they're going to throw Brady and company off their game like Anthony said they need to.
All right, guys, so give me your predictions. It's that time, but super quick. Who wins Super Bowl 52? What will the score be? And who gets Super Bowl MVP? Sean?
I am going with the Eagles to win their first ever Super Bowl. Patriots pedestrian defense. I think they'll pull it out something like 29-21, and the MVP going to Nick Foles for managing the game well enough to win, proving he is a number 1 QB in this league.
Steve?
Well, I'm going to go with the Eagles, too. I think it's time for somebody to knock the Patriots off. It may as well be the Eagles because they play great defense. So I'm going to say Eagles 27, Patriots 24, and my MVP is the great Malcolm Jenkins.
For me, I'm going with the Patriots, 27-21. I think Tom Brady's going to be the MVP. See, the thing with the Patriots is that great teams find ways of winning.
Oh, yeah.
We saw it last year in the Super Bowl. We saw it in the AFC Championship. Time and time again. We want to bury the Patriots. We want to just bury this whole Patriot reign in the Patriot way. They come out through the ashes, and they're always on top. I think Brady leads another game-winning drive down the field. He beats the Eagles and sends Philadelphia to another heartbreak.
I said it last year, and unfortunately I feel compelled to say it again. History seems to dictate that unless the opposing quarterback is Eli Manning, you shouldn't bet against the Patriots.
I hear you.
I think that even if Nick Foles continues his postseason magic, and even if the Eagles' defensive line spends a good deal of the game in Brady's kitchen, still 27-24 Patriots on a late fourth quarter drive. Captain Obvious MVP pick here. Tom Brady. As much as it pains me to say that for the second year in a row.
What do you got, Nisa?
I'm going to go with the Eagles. It's somewhat out of hope. But I'm going to go with the Eagles because I really do think they have a good chance. Very close game, 34-31, and I'm going to go with Nick Foles for MVP.
They had a very impressive game against the Vikings.
He really did.
He did.
Yeah.
Really well.
Well, the 2018 Winter Olympics get underway in Pyeongchang, South Korea on February 9th. And Team USA has plenty of athletes who will bear watching. Some are newcomers, while others are well-known veterans. Our panel weighs in on 4 who represent the red, white, and blue. Jay, who from Team USA are you most interested in seeing?
Lindsey Vonn is who I will be watching, the Grand Dame of USA skiing, in what will be her final Olympic Games. You know, Vonn missed all the 2014 games in Sochi due to a serious knee injury. So to me, that just adds to it. You know, she could become the oldest female alpine skier to win Olympic gold. She could tie or break the record for most Olympic alpine skiing golds won by an American, and she could tie with her old competitor and teammate Julia Mancuso as the most decorated American alpine skier. With all she's been through on and off the slopes over the last few years, it's amazing to me that she is still as fearless as she is. And according to her coaches, she's actually a better skier now than when she was younger. And as her teammate and likely successor as USA's top female skier, Michaela Schifrin said, quote, Lindsey still has speed, plenty of it. You know, a legend coming off an injury is a great story. A legend coming off an injury in her last Olympics, storylines don't get any better, you know, unless she actually wins gold. Then you got the stereotypical Hollywood ending to Lindsey Vonn's Olympic career. And in my mind, no one would deserve it more. I am watching for that. I am hoping for that.
Okay.
Anthony?
For me, it's going to be the Team USA hockey team.
Yes.
For the first time since 1994, no current active NHL players will be participating in the
That's
Winter
right.
Olympics. So it's going to be a little different, but let's get something straight. This is not the Miracle on Ice team. They have guys who have played in the NHL. Brian Giada is the team captain.
Oh, okay.
And if you're a New Jersey Devil fan out there, like my nephew, you remember him from the 2003 Stanley Cup team.
Sure.
He's had over 1,000 NHL games under his belt, so he's definitely the team captain. You look at Tony Granato, he's the coach. He coached the Rangers, the Kings, the Sharks at one point. Chris Chelios is actually assistant coach on the team as well.
Former Blackhawk.
You look at some of the guys they have. You know, Chris Bork, remember Ray Bork?
Right.
His son is on the team. Matt Gilroy is going to be an anchor in the blue line. Jordan Greenway, the very first African American to be on a Team USA hockey team. So it's a little historic. Deal. Altogether, the U.S. roster has 15 players who's competed in the National Hockey League. Giada, the only one who has played in the Olympics previously, just 2006. In Italy, I believe. Yeah. So this team is not short on experience. They're short on NHL players, but so is everyone else.
That's true.
So it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. And also, another day, they might be playing with heavy hearts. General Manager Jim Johansson
That's right.
passed away a few weeks ago. He put this team together before his untimely death. So like heavy hearts, a little emotion going into it. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Granato is able to blend this team together, which is pretty much a mix and match roster.
Steve?
Well, I'm going to go with Michaela Schifrin. She definitely, in my mind, is the USA's future, present, and going forward for a long time. She is an extremely talented, outstanding skier, and at age 22, she has the USA's best chance of winning gold in this sport, having won her share of accolades already. She is actually the youngest champ of the slalom at age 18 years, 345 days. She's also the overall World Cup champ and 4-time winner in the slalom at the World Cup. So enough said about her because she's a tremendous athlete.
Yep.
Sean?
Olympic athlete to watch, guys, in the past few Olympics. Who was my favorite Winter Olympian?
Shaun White.
John White.
No, Bodie Miller.
Bodie Miller,
Come
right.
on. He is your Olympian to watch, guys. And you know why? Because he's going to be in the NBC broadcast booth, and he's going to be like the Tony Romo of the Winter Olympics, I bet. And I'll tell you why, because he's going to bring that same conversational, just, you know, I am me and here I am type of style, like not trying to conform, be himself to the NBC broadcast booth, and that's very important because it's the personalities that make the Olympics a lot of fun. In terms of the athletes who are playing, one of the major figures is obviously Shaun White. This is his 4th Olympics at about 31, 32 years of age, 2-time gold medalist. Last Olympics, he did not make the podium.
That's
he
right.
just finished 4th. And for a guy like Shaun White, who has absolutely led the sport.
Dude's a
I
legend.
don't know if that's a blessing in disguise, because if you don't win gold for some of these types who lead the sport, they'd rather win nothing at all. So that's his ultimate goal, is to, in what will likely be his final Olympics, to go out with the gold. And he did qualify recently. In one of his runs, he had a perfect 100 score. He's also had some adversity, because leading up to this, he had an accident where he got 62 stitches in the face. If you ever seen these snowboarders, they go up so high, they twist around, they come down. The way these guys catch air is unbelievable. Even in some of the other aerial ski sports, some of these like winter sports, I could imagine myself doing, like cross-country skiing, fast skiing and stuff like that. But when you just take off and hit a ramp and just keep going like flipping in the air, I can't even fathom doing something like that. It seems like suicide to me. Absolutely. So I love the Olympics, and you talked about hockey, Anthony. Russia is not there. They don't have a team.
That's
I thought
right.
that was an interesting aspect, so they wouldn't have to compete. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but the NHL opted out, but the European leagues are allowing their players to go in.
So there's like the KHL, if connections were there, the Swedish leagues,
So
yes.
the team Sweden and Finland, they have a decisive advantage, and they've got a lot of medals. And I'm predicting for the first time ever, Finland will get the gold. They've been very strong in the past, getting bronze and silvers, and I think they're going to pull it out.
We shall see. Two of the bigger conversations leading up to the 23rd edition of the Winter Games center around Russian athletes being allowed to compete despite their nation being banned, and how North and South Korea are coming together as one Korea in several ways. Our guys are going to weigh in on both topics. Sean talked a bit about one Korea on the last show. He and Steve are going to expand on it here.
On Korea, I mean, I'm fascinated by this because the Olympics is at the center of a political firestorm. And hey, don't think that this is like something out of the realm of never happened before, because in the ancient games in Greece, those city-states were actually fighting each other, and they had very similar type of conflicts that we had until this day. But somehow the spirit of sports and competition would excite people even thousands of years ago. And they would call truces, they would stop their fighting, and then they would all enjoy the beauty of which is the Olympic Games. And I think that's what the Koreans are doing right now. And the absolute goal is that when they work together, when they play on the same hockey team, when North Korea gets to participate in a few of the sports, yet hope that they get to build on this, and it leads to some sort of peace and prosperity between the two nations with a shared past.
Maybe the key words you said, Sean, were the spirit of sports, because when you're talking about North and South Korea, as Yu Dunfor Ryu said, the head of the Korean Institute of Liberal Democracy in Seoul, he said North Korea has never cooperated with South Korea in any way, shape, or form. And there have actually been two occurrences where that happened. 1987, when North Korea detonated a bomb on South Korean Airlines, killing 104 passengers and 11 crew members before the 1988 Summer Games to try to keep people away from coming to the event. And then in 2002, there was a naval crash in North Korea in the disputed waters that killed 6 South Korean sailors hours before the South Koreans finished third in one of their matches. So I'm really interested to see how the security is going to play out in this. Is it going to be tame and under control as it seems to be, or is something going to happen prior to the Olympics, or maybe even during the Olympics?
Sure. I mean, 1950 to 1953, they fought a very violent war where
they
many
did.
more people died than the, 40,000 Americans who also died in that conflict.
That's a
So,
very good point.
of course, there's a lot of heat, but they do have a shared history, and maybe that will be the thing that guides them forward in the spirit of peace and cooperation.
Let's say we hope that that's the case for sure.
That's a hopeful look for sure. So Jay and Anthony, are you in favor of Russian athletes competing under the Olympic banner despite their country being banned from the Games?
I have to say that that this is a rather unique solution to what is becoming an unfortunate recurring issue. I mean, in the past, when a country was banned for athletes being busted for doping or using illegal substances, the clean athletes got screwed out of going to the Games, even though they did things the right way. I mean, what's interesting to me is that you have 70 to 80% of the Russian athletes that are being allowed to go who will be competing in their first Olympic Games ever. I mean, it's a double-edged sword for the Russian team. It's a dream come through for these athletes, but it also means a lot of the veteran ones, many who would have been medal contenders, won't be going. But I got to tell you, though, I like the fact that those 169 Russian athletes who should be allowed to compete are being allowed to compete. Look, doing so under a neutral Olympic banner, and to me, it's the best available solution right now. Look, these Russian athletes, if they medal, they're not going to hear their national anthem, and that's going to be sad. But, at the end of the day, and for the rest of their lives, the medal is what's going to matter, not what song was played after it was placed around their neck. So as of right now, I don't see a better solution. So I'm in favor of what they did, Anthony.
For me, it's kind of like I said, it's a double-edged sword, just like you said, because the IOC, it feels like they issued the ban and they're kind of backpedaling just a little bit by allowing some of the athletes, and even this afternoon before we went on the air, 28 more was kind of
cleared. They may or may not be able to play.
They're trying to get in late, but there's no guarantee that they'll be in. The thing is, it feels like you're going against what is traditionally a penalty, which is, okay, you get caught cheating, that's it. And even the selection process, how do you know, the 169 players that, individuals that are going were clean and wasn't involved because, they
passed the test, and that's really all the IOC can go by.
They went to, they had 17 criteria and met them all. I'm happy for them in the fact that they are able to compete because many of them, it's their first time, but also for the IOC, it's opened up a can of worms because what happens the next time a major doping scandal like this break out to another country? What's going to happen now? Are you going to let those individual athletes come in? Are you going to stick to tradition and just stick with, you're banned? So you leave the door wide open for Pandora's box to kind of leave like a blurred line, and I don't know. Just the IOC.
They got 2 years till the summer games to figure out another solution.
The IOC just, even when they try to do well, they can't quite get it right.
What are you going to do?
I think they got to come up with something better too.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
Well, that's our show. For Jay Kaplan, Steve Ferguson, Anthony Strait, and Sean Roman, I'm Nisa Petrilli. Thanks for spending part of your evening with us. We'll see you on February 15th for the NBA Midseason Report edition of On the Sports Lines. Remember, if you want to see this show again or catch up on any of the ones you might have missed, check us out at youtube.com/onthesportslines, and check out Anthony's great piece on the Patriots at our blog at onthesportslines.blogspot.com. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Enjoy the Super Bowl.
Yep.